Scott, it's a big game tonight. Rochester's on the outside looking in for the playoffs. New York is in one of those last playoff spots. A win, you guys can flip-flop. What have you guys talked about as a team to take care of business tonight?
I think we just, I think our main focus is playing a full game. I think, throughout the season, it's been a tale of two halves, both. From the start of the season, I feel like we were starting slow, having a good second half. We had a couple of comeback wins, or a couple we came short of, but we came back from being behind. And then this past second half of the season, it's been a good start, but second half we kind of fizzled off a little bit. So it's just sticking to the game plan. I think we've all been training hard, making sure we're ready to play a full 60 minutes. So I think we're just going to go out there, obviously focus on ourselves, and hopefully the outcome is good for us.
We speak about playing the full 60 minutes. The last 2 weeks, the second half, offensively, you guys have sputtered out. Colorado, you only had 2 goals. Last week against Halifax, only 3 goals. What was the difference between the first half and the second half offensively?
I think a big thing for us is, our coaches do a great job at giving us a great game plan, and I think you've seen that in the past couple games. We came out and executed the game plan right off the bat, and I think a lot of it has to do with movement on and off, or with and without the ball. I think sometimes we get a little stagnant, and that's when we get into those lulls. So I think as a team, or offensive group, I should say, we talked about just constantly having cutters, constantly moving with and without the ball. Making sure the defense can't get comfortable back there, and also switching the sides of the field. Not just taking the first look, but getting a couple swings, getting the defense and goalie moving, and not taking the first shot, but the best shot.
So for you personally, you're coming up on a milestone. You're 3 points away from 100, which you'll do back-to-back seasons. Not a lot of American-born players get to that 100 part. You're one of 3. What does that mean to you that get 100 points and be one of the few Americans in this league that's ever done that?
I think obviously you work as hard, off the field. Growing up in the backyard, you dream of being in moments like this, playing in the professional league, right? So I'm just grateful to be playing the game I love. That it was my dream as a kid to play professionally. But I think those milestones, obviously you put in the work and you really try to keep getting better each year. But for me, I think the biggest takeaway from it is how great of a team we have here, right? I think you look at any individual who's had a great season, they can't do that themselves, right? I think it says a lot about the guys we have in that locker room, how skilled they are, how much attention they draw. It's really tough for a defense to key in on our offense, one person specific, just because we have so many weapons. So, I think I'm just very grateful and lucky to be part of such a great team with a lot of weapons that allow me to play my game, but also I think we complement each other really well out there.
And one of the underrated parts of your game is your ability to go after loose balls. You're the leading forward getting loose balls, and you're number 1 by a lot. Why are ground balls so important to you?
Yeah, it's funny when you look at that type of stat, you think of it as a defensive stat or face-off stat, right? For guys who are out on the face-offs and guys who are out there defensively, but I think it's very much overlooked on the offensive end, because every time there's a loose ball on the offensive end, it's another opportunity for us to put the ball in the back of the net, and I think it's another opportunity to let our defense rest as well. And a lot of times it's coming off a reset or a shot clock where we have another 30 seconds to break down a defense that's already been playing for 30 or so seconds. So I think it's a game it's a part of the game that I really focus in on, and I try to give 100% effort when I'm out there all the time. But when I see a ground ball or a ball on the ground, my eyes light up. I love it. So I think it's just a boost for the team. I think not just having that extra 30 seconds, but also when you see guys out there, fighting for ground balls, putting their body on the line, stuff like that, it brings up guys around them to want to do the same. So, I think something I always talk about is leading by example, and that's what I try to do out there.
Speaking of leading by example, certainly you can notice in the beginnings of the games, a lot of defenses are very physical with you. They put in that extra shot or two. Is that something that not necessarily that you crave, but like you don't mind that because it is part of the game, and that because you're the number 1 guy that's part of the business?
Yeah, it is right. It's part of the game, and I think for me personally, I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as a good thing. I think it helps get me into the game quicker. I think when you go into any game, it's just trying to get into the flow of the game and just getting comfortable out there. And I think after I take a couple hits, I start to feel real comfortable out there, and helps me focus in more. So for me, I love it. I love the physicality. That's why I love the indoor game. I think it's a huge part of it, and I think it just helps you get into the game. So I love it.
Who's the guy? I mean, certainly you get a lot of headlines. Smitty gets a lot of headlines. Lanchberry. Who's the guy on offense that you feel doesn't get the headlines that maybe should, because they do all those things that this team can't function without?
Wow, I mean, there's a lot. Speaking offensively, I think you mentioned those three names. I think the other, four guys we dress each night are, don't get enough credit. Like I feel like, even our whole offensive unit, with four guys we dress and the two that we don't. I think all those guys are part of the process for success, and whether it's practice, but also on the floor in games. I think a lot of the unnoticed stuff is the picks, right? Just the constant motor, cutters, stuff like that. I think, that all goes to it, and it's part of why our offense has been so successful, is because everyone is committed to, their role, and we're just trying to play for each other. So it's hard to put a name on one. I mean, I think T-Mac should be the Rookie of the Year. I think he's had an unbelievable year. Just what he's done offensively. It's tough for any rookie to come in and put up those numbers. So, and not only does he put up numbers, but he does all the dirty work too, setting picks, getting loose balls. He's been a huge success. Obviously, Turns has been awesome for us out there. It's good to have him back in the lineup. Watts has been great, and I think Nighter is really one of those guys too that is overlooked a lot of the time. Not only because obviously he's producing, but also he's that guy who's got the constant motor, who's stopping transition. Ever since he came back, him and Turner, we haven't given up as many transition goals, and I think they're a huge part of it with their IQ. So, it's really, I can't name just one. I think it's every one of them that is, under talked about, and I feel like, they're all just so fun to play with, and I think we all mesh well together.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this one. Taking a look at Cam Dunkerley, the goalie that you're going up against tonight. He's a young guy. He's been very hot and cold this year. What do you got to do tonight to beat him?
I think it's just sticking to our game plan, sticking to the scout. We've all watched a lot of film. We know what we're up against this weekend. A great team. I think he is a great goalie. And like you said, he could get hot, and just like any goalie, you can get hot or you can get cold. And I think it's really focusing on not taking that first shot, but taking the best shot, and not letting him get into his rhythm and get comfortable out there. Just really, getting the ball side to side. Hopefully get him moving off his line, and then I think things will come a lot easier for us.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
You roomed with Jeff T for Team Canada. He said you were one of his roommates, and how much respect he has for you, and what a great guy you are on and off the floor, and how you're such a leader. Talk about Jeff T, just how you got to know him, and what you kind of see his game developing into.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's enough good things that can be said about Teeter. I think I really got to know him a lot this summer, rooming with him at Worlds, and I feel like he's one of those guys that it's just fun to be around. I think he's a great leader. Obviously what he does on the floor is very, very few can do, if any. And I think just his skill set, right? Like, I mean, you look at a guy like that, and he always finds a way to get it done. He's one of those guys, and he's always producing for his team when they need him most. So I got so much respect for Teeter, and I love rooming with him. He's a really good guy. Obviously playing with him, it's fun to play with him because he's such a skilled, unselfish player. But I really enjoy just getting to know him off the field. Hanging out with him there, and I think he's a really good person off the field, and he's a really great player on the field.